Hi everyone and welcome back to OC Avery. I'm Oliver and in today's video we're at the Stafford National Show on Sunday, October 3rd, 2021. So at the National Exhibition today we're going to be visiting the show of all of the exhibition birds and catching up with a few different fanciers and many different breeds of canaries and a few other different things there. And then also we're going to be looking at some birds in the sale. So let's jump over to me at Stafford. So we're here at Stafford Show today, so we're going to have a look around the show hall. There's plenty to see. Obviously it is a bit later on the show when I'm filming you this clip, but we've got plenty to see today. Loads of different birds, including parakeets, canaries and British birds, so let's go and take a look. So this year at the National Exhibition, although I'd say the attendance of both sellers and buyers was smaller, and I would blame that down to a few things, and the main thing being COVID is a lot of people not wanted to take the risk of coming to the show, although precautions obviously were in place, as well as plenty of ventilation in quite a big area. So hopefully we see bigger attendance at future shows, but obviously for the first show back after a good 18 months, it was a good show in my opinion. So there was, although like I said, there was a smaller number of people at the show, I'd say that the number of birds in terms of the species was very similar to previous shows. There was always the general sort of birds you're going to get is a lot of budgies, a lot of canaries, quite a variety of foreign finches, and then we go to more of the more rare and unusual things. So there were British birds there, and you do usually get a lot of British birds there. I'd say the numbers this year were smaller in terms of number of individual birds that were there on sale of the British, but the variety was still there. There was native bullfinches, there was goldfinches, there was redpolls, siskins, greenfinches, chaffinches. I didn't see a bramble, however I did hear there were some there. There was quite a few mules, both goldfinch mules. I saw a linnet mule, a greenfinch mule. There were some twite mules at the show as well, and just a few different things like that. So as it goes for the British birds, the variety was there, but just the overall numbers, there weren't as many of them as previous shows, but I just blame that mainly down to COVID. There's a lot of people not coming over, and sadly because of Brexit as well, a lot of chaps from the continent and Ireland wasn't able to come over and bring a lot of the native birds they did. But I'm hoping that as we see obviously COVID numbers fall, things get a bit more under control and we learn to live with it, then hopefully by the Spring Bird Show we're going to see the show flourishing like it did a few years ago. So then as it goes for other things, there was quite a few other rare things. Just one thing actually to point out is some of the redpolls there, some fantastic redpolls by Barry Scott Robson. I know Barry anyway, and visit his bird room, and the birds are fantastic quality, and there were some lovely Isabels there was some lovely cinnamons and pines just there. So just thought I'd give that a quick mention. I looked around at quite a few, but that's just a clip that I've got. There was an awful lot of really nice birds there. I did notice that one of the things is that some of the birds didn't seem like they should have been at the show, and mainly I'd say that a lot of birds were still molting. And a lot of the British at least were still molting, so there's a few birds that shouldn't have been there, but that's on the seller's behalf. Obviously there wasn't a British show there this year, but we'll get to that in a little later on in the video. As it goes for other things, the canaries, there was a good selection there. Razzers, Irish Fancy, Fifes, Feeders, Norwich. There was quite a few Norwich, some really good birds available. Yorkies, a lot of new colours. I believe that a chap had actually brought in a load from Italy. It brought them in, and I don't know if you can take them out. I don't believe you can, but there was a good selection of new colours there. There was actually some really unusual canaries we've got a clip of here, and these were albino canaries. Nothing like I've ever seen before. I didn't really think you could get albino canaries. Obviously the odd one does come out occasionally, but as sort of a established thing, I didn't think that could have really been much of something. But there were albino canaries, and they were something different. So it was nice to see those and have a chat with the breeder and what have you there. So then we go to the more unusual things. So something I saw was sunbirds. There was a couple of sunbirds available. There was a lot of foreign siskins, South American siskins. There were red siskins. I believe there was a black siskin, which I saw. There were some black-headed siskins as well, and obviously the red siskins. So that was nice to see those. And then we have a look at some more sort of out there finches. There were some black-headed green finches, which I've never seen before. There was really quite a variety. There was some rare sort of, I can't remember the exact species of buntings, so there were quite a few different things there. There were some fantastic looking linnets, what I saw on one chap's table. There was a real variety there, as it goes for parrot species and what have you. There was some eclectus, there were some kakarikis, cockatiels, a variety of lovebirds in different colours, including those that actually by the Parrot Society in the display aviaries. They had some wild coloured lovebirds as well, some of the black masked ones. They were nice to see, although I didn't get a very good look around there because I was running about all day. As if you saw me at Stafford, you'll know I was running about all day, collecting things, giving things to people, and chatting with people. We'll get to that a little later on. So then, just other things, there was helicopter budgies. There was some really unusual things. So there was some bleeding heart doves. There were some fruit doves. There was actually a very nice lady who I spoke to selling some lapwings, or also known as peewits. Although I would absolutely have loved to come home with them, I'm afraid that they're just not something that I've got the facility to keep at the moment. If I did have an even bigger aviary, my biggest flight at the moment is an 8x4. If I did have a big, large planted flight, then there might be something which I could look to bring on. But I don't think at the moment the native soft bills is going to be something you're going to see me keeping on the channel, just because I want to put a lot more focus into my native finches, which obviously I show and breed for exhibition. So there was a real good variety there today in terms of overall species. However, I think that just the number of individual birds was less than most shows. But you can find all sorts at Stafford, and one of the best things I would say is contact breeders prior to going so you can get down reserves and know where you're going for tables. I had a lot of reserves to pick up, and we're going to see those on my video on Saturday the 9th of October. We're going to see some of the birds that I brought in, and all of those birds which were brought in were reserves, I collected from breeders, because by doing that you're guaranteeing that you're picking up a specific bird you want, and rather than walking around and grabbing the odd thing. Because personally I like to know the history of the birds. I want to know a bit more about them rather than just seeing them on the bench, and I want to know that those birds are in top health, because there are birds at all sort of sales that aren't in tip-top condition, and that's a problem. That you don't want to be coming home with a bird that's ill, because all it's going to do is either spread disease to your other birds and die on you, and then you're going to end up with wasting money on that bird. So that's something to look out for. I think there's something else you do end up with at these sort of shows, is that you get mainly all the British birds are legit birds. They're all close rung, and they're all by breeders, people who breed the birds like myself. We breed the British birds, they're close rung, and they're completely legit. However, sadly, something I did notice this year was some native goldfinches with plastic split rings on, and that was it. And it was a shame to see. I did, to be fair, I would usually say something, or just try and do something like that, but I just didn't have time, sadly. And it's just something to be aware of, is when you are at the big sales like that, always check the birds for things that are important for them. For example, if you're having British birds, make sure they're close rung. and the correct size ring. If they're closed rung but you've got a red pole with an E ring, there's something not quite right there. A red pole should obviously be a B ring, so just something to look out for in future when you guys are at these shows. There was quite a variety of goldfinches actually, although we did have the normal native goldies. There was one actually, I didn't manage to get a photo of it, but it was a white-headed goldfinch, a native one as well. So we know obviously Chev goldfinches are quite a rare sort of variety of goldfinch to get, because as far as I'm aware it's not an established mutation. The white-headed goldfinch is sort of a step up from that, and that was a lovely bird to see. I did stand and have a look at it, but sadly just didn't get a chance to get a photo, as there were quite a few people looking at it at the time. But that's just something that was there. I think you're almost guaranteed to find something different at the show and almost come home with something you didn't expect coming home with. And I'd 100% recommend, especially if you've never been before, to go to the show, and hopefully you should enjoy it and you'll find a good variety of birds and you'll come home with something, or quite a few birds you'll be very pleased with. So it was a busy day for me at the show as well. I got plenty of birds to collect. I was meeting a lot of people. Thank you to everyone who came over for a chat, shook my hand, and we just had a quick little talk. And it was lovely to meet a lot of viewers of the channel, fans, should we call them maybe. And it was great to meet everyone who did have a chat, come over and just said hello. And you're always welcome to come over, say hello. If you want a photo, you're welcome to have a photo. I did have a few photos taken with people yesterday, so if you've got them, please do send them over to me. Do tag me on Instagram or Facebook, and I'd love to see them. And just massive thank you to everyone who came over and had a chat, and everyone to help me out with the birds that you're going to see in a future video. And we'll thank everyone again for that. So then that took us on, after having a good walk around the show hall, and after picking up loads of supplies, got quite a variety of seed which I needed, quite a bit of equipment as well, egg food drawers, bird baths, drinkers, everything you need like that is on site, and you can pick up at a very good price as well. You can buy yourself some new cages, so there were some fantastic wire cages which, if I got the room for, they would have been coming back with me, but sadly I didn't have the room for them. So great. So then let's go and have a look at the birds in the exhibition, and there was some fantastic varieties of birds there, and really nice to see. Okay, so now we're in the show hall at Stafford, and we've got all sorts to look at today. So let's go and have a look at the shows, and we'll see what birds are there. We've got quite a few people to meet. Hopefully we meet Matt from the Canary room and Shane from the bird room, and we'll see how we get on. So let's get into it. Now, sadly, at the show, the British section wasn't on, so I didn't show myself. However, you're going to see an awful lot of different variety of canaries in this, as well as a few zebs and possibly some lovebirds, and some other clips that I've got there of the birds that were in the exhibition. I wish the show was on this year for the British, and sadly it just didn't work out, but not to worry. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be on next year, and I will have another try at starting a streak of Best Novice Hardbill, which I achieved in my first year, first show, which was the last national exhibition. So now we're going to go and see Matt from the Canary room in the Fife section. Right, so as you can see, I've stumbled across Matt L of the Canary room at Stafford. So we're here with the Fife now. Matt, you've shown how many birds today?
I entered 16, but I only put 14 in.
Right. So and then how did they all perform for you?
Yeah, good, Ollie. First show, a couple of class wins,
right.
A couple of birds in the cards, which is always good. Always good when the birds bench. A lot of good competition. First show, so they'll do better in future shows, and then always nice. The bird on the top table, so that's always sort of it's not that far a distance from home, but it's nice to come and see that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll go and take a look at Matt's, which has come up on the top bench, and we'll have a quick chat about that. So this is Matt's bird, so let's talk about it.
So yeah, it's a little heavily variegated yellow hen. as is always the case in the Canary room, we thought early on it was going to be a cockbird because it's got quite a good rich colour on it. And if you look at the lacings through on one side of it, you can see they come right through. So I'm working on the basis it will lay more eggs than it fills. So, but it's racing a little bit now. But I'm pleased, it's heavily variegated is one of the classes that I've got some strong birds in. So I've got I think all of the birds, certainly the two good cocks, the heavily variegated yellow cock and this hen are all commanded. So
right,
and it's quite a competitive class.
That's a great result for you to get on. Obviously, the champion awards bench is the best heavily variegated bird.
Yeah, it is, mate. Good start to the season. I always sort of, at the beginning of the show season, I always sort of set out to think, well, if I can get a couple of colour specials, then it's been a good year. So first show, first one in the bag, takes the pressure off for the rest of the year. So we'll see. We'll see how we get on.
Well, I'm sure we'll get many updates on the Canary room as we would from multiple shows, and we'll see how you do on the show bench over this show season. So anyway, Matt, thank you very much.
Good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for giving me a few birds which we're going to see in a future video, and catch up with you at a different show.
Pleasure. Cheers, Ollie.
Thank you, mate. See you later.
And just like Matt said from there, what a great start to the show season for him. Getting a bird on the top bench, getting a good award, and obviously looking around at the top bench, both champions. There's some absolutely fantastic birds on there, and I'm sure a lot more of the more experienced Fife men and Canary men will be able to appreciate them more than myself. But some really lovely looking birds up there, and same for the novice classes. I'm sure the judge could tell me a lot more, but they look really solid birds. Obviously in the novice classes as well. And good competition for the champions, I imagine, in a few years' time. And obviously for the Fife show this year by, I believe it was the Fife Fancy Canary Council, who part of running the show for the Fifes, and there's pretty much every colour there you can imagine. Obviously there's clears. There's a lovely little clear cockbird that caught my eye as I'm looking round, singing his heart out at the show, and obviously that's great to see a bird in top condition like that. There's whites, there's allied to whites, there's all the cinnamons, the self greens, the tick birds, the 10%ers, some lovely looking Fifes, and it was great to see them. So from there we will have to take a look around at some of the other varieties like the Yorkies, the Norwich, the London Fancy, and no colours. So starting out with the Norwich Canaries, there's quite a large number of them. I don't think anything outnumbered the Fifes. There was an awful lot of birds there, about 4 whole rows full. So an awful lot of Fifes there. But we're starting with the Norwich. There was a good number of those Norwich there as well. And but one of the first birds that caught my eye just as I started to go into that show hall was actually the best novice Norwich Canary. And I was actually collared by the chap who got best novice, and he collared me and just said, about watching the show, enjoyed the show, and thank you for the advice and what have you. Obviously, not just my show as well, but then he just said this was his first show, and he got best novice Norwich. So big congratulations there, and it was a lovely bird as well. So congratulations for that. It's a great achievement to have, especially at your first show, getting best novice. It's great. So then we're looking around, and there's obviously a lot of Norwich through there, and I bumped into Mr. Keith Ferry, who we did a Natives and Norwich Zoom room with a few months ago, and is featured on the Canary room a few times, and obviously one of the top Norwich men there is. And Keith won the best Norwich and best Canary with I believe it was a clear buff hen. It was a lovely bird, and he obviously did very well. So really pleased for him, and obviously Keith, if you are watching, congratulations, and what a lovely bird that you had there. So that was great. And then I believe the best white Norwich and I think best white Canary in show was from my good friend Richard Jones and Arwell Robertson. Jones and Roberts partnership got the best white in show, which is great, and it's a lovely looking bird as well. So you're going to see something from those guys in the next video with some birds that we've brought in. But just well done, and some fantastic looking Norwich on display at the National. So just looking round at some of the other canaries that were at the show, there was a really good number of Irish fancy that had come out, and it was great to see how they got on. Obviously, I've not been to many canary shows, so it was lovely to see those, and we've done some videos on the Irish fancy with Eddie Darcy. It's a natives in Norwich Zoom room, so it was great to see the Irish there. There was a good number of Yorkies, and then again, I've not seen many Yorkies, so it was good to see those and how they did at the show. And obviously, some big awards went out for some of those guys. The variety of new colour canaries was, it was fantastic. There was the red factors. There were you're gonna have to tell me if I'm wrong here. Black reds. There was some, almost like cobalt ones, really dark red canaries. There were some yellow phaos. There were some red phaos. There was a lot of like satinets in different ones, like Isabel satinets, I think, and then also really intensive ones. A great number of the new colours, and it was lovely to have a look around at them, because you get a really good feel for just how much is out there with the new colours. Is that I think there's probably new sort of mutations arise from them every year. At least what I've seen this year, there's some more that's come out in, I believe, Satinet or Agat, but some fantastic birds just to see at Stafford. It gives you a really good sort of feel for everything that's there. Just moving on from the new colours, there was some fantastic looking Stafford canaries there. They look really nice and yeah, quite good. Well, to me, I thought there was actually Yorkies to begin with, and then realised they were Staffords, because they were much bigger than I expected. There was a large number of lizard canaries, the colour fed ones in sort of the red golden sort of colour. There was the non-colour fed in green with like sort of yellow caps. There was blue ones as well. So it was really nice to see the whole mix and variety of lizards there were. And something that caught my eye, which I just completely didn't expect to be at the National, were the London Fancies. For anyone that probably doesn't know, is that the London Fancy Canary went extinct many years ago, and it's been sort of recreated through mixing breeds and so forth. There's a lot more there's people who can tell you a lot more about it. I'm just giving you a quick overview, and there was some London Fancies at the show. I know some of them obviously took good awards, so well done to the guys who got there with the London Fancies, and just great to see that they were there and just having a look at them. There's a good variety of the old and rare variety canaries as well. So a little bird that stood out to me was a tiny little Razor canary. I think it took best Razor as well. I didn't think canaries could get that small. I knew the Razors were a small breed of canary, but it was probably about that big. It was smaller than a siskin. This Razor, probably the size of a red siskin actually. Really small bird, and I loved looking at it. What there was of it, because it was so small and jumpy. It was great though, really nice to see. There was some Scots fancy, and some of them best novice belonging to one of my friends. So great to see that the Scots fancy were there, and just having a look at them. There was whites and there was yellows. From what I saw anyway, after having a quick look around the hall, because there was so many to get through, and there was just a really good variety of canaries there. A mass number of red factors, I must say, even though we've talked about those, a lot of those, and I loved seeing them. So just well done to everyone, and thank you all for obviously making the show good by entering more birds, and it was great to see such a big variety of birds there. So then the final part of the show that I captured on film, there was actually a lovebird part of it and budgie-regard, but sadly I just didn't get time to get round to filming that, as I got an awful lot going on, looking at a lot of the canaries, which I thought would be a bit more to relate to for my viewers at least. But then there was a zebra finch show, and there was a great, a good load of zebra finches there, and it's great to see the difference between the normal Avery zebra finch that you can pick up from any pet shop to the exhibition zebra. And then here's a photo of Jacob, and Jacob, he's a young lad who I've been helping out over the past few months. We're just giving him advice on his birds, and he keeps mainly zebra finches and a few foreign finches and what have you. And this is Jacob's first show, and he got third place with a pair of, I think it was a pair of pied zebra finches and a crested cockbird, I think it was. He got third place. So massive well done, Jacob, and I'm really, really pleased for you. It was a great result for you, and just well done to everyone at the show at Stafford for the first show back after 18 months of not showing. It was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I just want to say thank you to everyone again who came over for a chat, and we just met me, and it was nice to meet a lot of people and finally put some faces to names after the past few years, well, the past 2 years of just getting round to meeting people who I've spoken to online, and that's it. Met Adam Kendall as well from the Kendalls to the Fifes, and shame I didn't get a bit more of a chat with you, mate, but I look forward to catching up with you and having a good chat at one of the next shows. And obviously you're more than welcome to come over if you ever see me at a show. I'm friendly, I don't bite, and I'm more than happy to spend some time having a chat with you about us birds. So anyway, guys, this has been my video from Stafford, the Stafford National Exhibition 2021, sponsored by ran by the Parrot Society. So hope you've enjoyed it, hope you've seen something and learnt something today. For, whether you're looking to go to Stafford and you want to see a bit more about it, whether you want to be going to exhibit your birds, whether you want to be going for the sales side. And obviously if you've got any questions, you can just message me and I'll do my best to answer them. Or you can always direct your questions to the Parrot Society, who run the show, and they might be able to tell you a bit more information about it. So if you've enjoyed this video today, hit click the thumbs up, the like button, click the subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. And then that next video will be from OC Avery, and we'll be looking at some of the new birds that I picked up at Stafford. See you in the next one.